So there's been over, I think, just under 30 laws made from the youth. It really does empower you and just really educates you.
Young people around the world want to see change. Join your co-hosts, William, Anastasia, and George, as they speak to young leaders from around the world on their stories, their struggles, and most importantly, their incredible impact. In season 2 of this podcast, be ready to get inspired. This is where action begins, and this is the Young Changemakers podcast.
What's up, people from the YCM podcast, people from across the world. Welcome to the second episode of the second season of the Young Changemakers podcast. It's your boy William from Guatemala. It's so cool to be back with you guys again. I have to say that I'm very excited and I'm filled with a lot of good energy and good vibes while just recording this introduction. I have to say that I really identify when I love something, when I get amazing energy from that. So I know it's been a while. It's been like 6 months or something since the last season, but I have to say, guys, that we're back. Not only with a new co-host that you're going to meet her in the next episode, but also we're back with a lot of energy. We are really planning to bring amazing value. We're planning to bring amazing stories and advices so that you can, use it in your own life and also leverage from this content that we're sharing with you guys. Maybe you're not that much into social impact, but we really hope that some of these stories will inspire you to do some change in your community, because remember that it is not really necessary to do a massive impact. If you start doing an impact not only on yourself but also on the people around you, that's awesome, so that you can influence on other people, and these other people will create also impact, and that can be passed from human to human. So just try to spread the good vibes and the good energy wherever you go, and whenever you do social impact, try to do it with an open heart, with an open mind, and just try to try to add the value that you have within yourself, because it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what's your background. Everybody has value to add to this world. All right, guys, so before I jump into the introduction, I'm going to introduce myself before going to that, because maybe there's people that is joining us in this new season. So welcome, guys. And my name is William Reyes. I'm a Guatemalan and I'm studying chemical engineering. I was selected as a Global Changemaker back in 2019, and I've been volunteering in organizations that support the reduction of inequalities and also the well-being of the people around the city. So guys, now changing the topic a bit, I wanted to say that I really hope that everything's under control in your city, your town, your country regarding these times. I know it's been tough, guys. It's not been easy for every one of us, but we have to stay strong, and I send you my best vibes. I am not going to talk that much about COVID and quarantine and this new lifestyle, right? But I'm going to talk about some books that I'm going to recommend you before jumping into the introduction. So these books really helped me, guys, to start my personal growth, my personal development. I want to share with you guys that this year, after being 23 years of age, I started taking my personal growth very, very serious. And I have to say that never before in my life I thought of personal growth. So I never thought about, really committing to personal growth. And I have to say, guys, that I was able to give my life this 180-degree turn, guys, by only changing very important things in myself, while developing myself, while working on myself. And you can be anyone. You can be the person you want. You can have the personality you want. That's only one step away from you. That is not only necessary to accept the best things from you, but it's also necessary to accept the side that you don't like to show everybody, because that's you as well. So for me, it's been a crazy year, not only because of coronavirus and all of that, but also because my personal development has really helped me a lot. And I'm not trying to talk from the ego perspective here. I'm just trying to share with you my experience and hopefully that you will get something out of it. So the two books that I'm going to share with you guys are the following. The first one is called The Four Agreements. I have to say that this was the first book that I had the opportunity to read after committing myself to personal development, and I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to read this book. This book changed my life. I have to say, I know it sounds very cliche. You always hear on social media that people get their lives changed by just reading one book. I also thought it was a lie, but guess what? My life changed after reading this book. And also, I wanted to share with you guys the second book called The Power of Now. This book is very special also, but I would recommend you to read it after reading the first one that I just mentioned, because this one is going to open your eyes to a lot of things that you were doing different. I don't want to say wrong because there's nothing wrong regarding personalities, but it's going to be very eye-opening. And it's not because I say it. You can read the reviews of this book, The Power of Now, and you can notice how people got very, very annoyed and mad sometimes while reading this book, because it really opened your eyes to things that you were not seeing before. So it's amazing, guys. You get to change. You get to be more happy, more, you know, uh, open-hearted, open-minded. You leave your ego aside and your life really changes. So I really get like kind of emotional while sharing a bit about my journey, but I say again, it's has nothing to do with ego. It has nothing to do with all this stuff that it's just like, just trying to show off or something like that. I just want to share it, guys, because it really impacted me and really changed my life. And yeah, so let's go to the introduction. So today I'm interviewing a guy from Melbourne, Australia. His name is Oussama. He's a 24-year-old guy selected as a global changemaker back in 2017. He completed a bachelor's in construction management in Deakin University and is currently employed full-time in the construction industry. Since his goal is to empower individuals to achieve their goals, he loves working on community and grassroots efforts in his free time. In 2014, he was elected Premier of Victoria's Youth Parliament by his fellow parliamentarians. His team planned back then to introduce a bill for 24-hour public transport to be made available in metropolitan and regional Victoria. In 2017, he was awarded as the Youth of the Year by the Australian Muslim Achievement Awards for his advocacy in youth empowerment along the years. He also implemented a camp for change in Melbourne, which invites 60 selected youth ages 13 and above to take part in a weekend field of workshops, teamwork, and recreational activities, where they meet community leaders and network with like-minded individuals. Alright, guys, so I really hope that you really enjoyed this interview. It was an amazing chat with Oussama, and yeah, as I mentioned before, I really hope that you take away a lot of good things from this interview. So let's go. Hey Oussama, how are you?
I'm very well, William. And yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's very cool
That's
to have
good.
you here in YCM podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It's a blessing.
Yeah, thank you so much for the time. I know we were trying to schedule this thing since like 3 months, but
Yeah, it's been a couple of months.
Yeah, but it's good to finally have you here.
Bloody Corona.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's start with the first question of this interview. What is your favorite quote? How has this influenced your life and work? And something that I wanted to ask to add to this story is that if you can give us like some advice of when is someone going to be in need of this mindset, because as you may know, like quotes kind of try to change your mindset in a way, right? When you're in a certain situation. So if you can tell us like when would someone be in need of this mindset, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Go by. I have a couple of favorite quotes, but one quote that really sticks with me is from the late Muhammad Ali, where he says, "The service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." And I think that's very, very important in line of our work where it's like servant leadership, where you're here to help your community, help your family, just being able to serve and to assist people around you in any shape, way, or form. So I think, yeah, that plays a major role in my life. And yeah, that's probably why it's my favorite quote, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, because if you get to think about it, it's like maybe you struggle sometimes while serving others, but
Yeah,
like in the long term, you know that that's gonna
yeah,
help you,
yeah.
right?
It's exactly. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
an end goal there. There's
yeah,
that
yeah,
fulfillment that you don't get doing anything else except for, like, when you make someone happy, you get a good feeling inside. Or if you help
yeah,
someone, it definitely leaves you with good positive vibes, and
yeah, yeah,
the positivity resonates. It affects your everyday
yeah,
life. Like, yeah, having an extra spring in your step
yeah, yeah.
after helping someone is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And as you say, it's maybe not much about like what is going to get back to me like in the future,
Yeah,
but more
exactly.
about like
Yeah,
how am I gonna feel when I serve other people. That's the
yeah,
cool thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, awesome. So as I mentioned it back into introduction, you were involved in the Youth Parliamentary of Australia, um,
yep.
which empowers young people. So could you please tell us more into detail how was your involvement in that organization?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel a little old now, mate. It was back in 2014 and 2013. But yeah, just as you mentioned in the introduction, the YMCA, they've got a bunch of programs that really target youth of Australia. They've been around for over 120 years, so they've really established themselves in Australia pretty well. So I was very fortunate to partake in a program called Youth Parliament, where there's basically a week in throughout the year where there's no sittings in Parliament House, and then that's where we go in. So the politicians have a break. We go in and you debate and you propose a law. So it could be a bill. So in my year level, it was 24-hour public transport, which is what we don't have in Melbourne. And the other year was free tertiary education for Victorian students. I know a lot of places around the world, they do have free tertiary education, but in Australia, we don't. So basically, you go in and you just debate these laws, and you really learn how laws are made. And then if it gets passed through the Parliament House, it gets passed on to the relevant minister. So with transport, it gets passed on to the transport minister, and then they can potentially adopt that new law. So there's been over, I think, just under 30 laws made from the youth that have actually been part
Awesome.
of Victoria's law. So it really does empower you and just really educates you and familiarizes yourself with how laws and bills are made.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So why do you guys had this initiative to introduce this bill of 24-hour transport? Was there like a story? Is there like a story behind that? Or is only because you guys saw that there was like the need to have a 24-hour
Yeah,
transport available?
that's a good question. So you debate the topic in groups of six. So all maybe 80% of us in our group were all university students, or where we'd stay at university late, or they go out to the city and they stay out having a good time very late, and then by 1, 2 o'clock the trains have stopped, so they've had to take an expensive taxi ride back home. Or it happened to me once where I actually missed the last train at uni, and then I had to sleep at my universities
Oh wow.
in the library simply because I didn't. You can't take a taxi. You're like an hour and a half away. It's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So I had to sleep in the university, the library, until the early morning to catch the next train. So
So was the library open 24/7?
yeah, the library was open. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, the
Well, at least you
special
had
access
a
card.
warm place to stay, right?
Yeah. Very fortunate. Wasn't locked out, but yeah. So that's
Wow.
an experience that's been, that's affected me. So yeah.
Yeah. So now, like, there is 24-hour transport in Australia?
Yeah, certain times there is, like in Australia, in Melbourne particularly, there's always a
Mm,
lot of events on, a lot of sports, a lot of musics, the arts. There's always something happening.
mm.
So even there's massive resorts and casinos in the CBD, in the city, and a lot of these workers are shift workers where they finish late at night, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and then
Yeah, yeah.
there's no way to get home. So now there is more services being introduced into the around the clock.
That's really nice. So that not only benefited students, but also workers that have shifts
Yeah,
at night.
yeah. All the
That's awesome.
late night shift workers. Yeah,
So when you mentioned university students, were there like students only from one field, or were
uh
students from a lot of degrees?
yeah. No, there was many degrees different. I think I was the only one studying construction, but there was the arts, commerce, business, human rights, law. Yeah, so these like, and the beauty of this program was that they got 60 people from the city and 60 people from rural areas,
Mm,
and then
awesome.
these people would come together and debate. So you get different perspectives on
Yeah,
how people
definitely.
live. Like as like we're having a conversation with someone in the country town, so in rural areas, and we're talking about trains and stuff, and they're like, we don't have any trains, we have our buses.
Hmm.
So if they were to stay out late in the city, they'll
Yeah.
have to catch a train back home, and then there'll be a bus to get back home, and then even then there's still someone that has to pick them up from the station and take them back. Like it's something
Yeah.
you don't think about. Like
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
in the city, you
Hmm.
think, oh yeah, I've got a bus, I can take a bus, I can take a train, I can take anything. But in the countryside, you don't have that blessing. So
Yeah. So,
yeah,
like, is there any range about ages that are allowed to
yep,
participate?
yeah. There was people ages 16 to 24. So there was a
Mm,
bunch. So there was a mix of uh,
yeah.
school kids, yeah, school students, the university students, the graduated students. So
So that's a wide
yeah,
range, right?
yeah, it is,
Yeah.
but it's only 8 years, but still, there's so many different things that you learn off people from different ages,
Yeah,
having different
definitely.
experiences. Even in even at university, you'd always look up if you're in the third year, you'd always look up to the people in the fourth year studying, ask them for their assignments, and but you'd yeah. So like even one year at university makes such a difference, let alone
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So now moving on with the interview, can you please
Yep.
share with us a challenge that you faced in your life and how did you overcome it? It could be a challenge as a volunteer or as in your personal life.
Yeah, a challenge. My, I think my biggest challenge was my identity. So obviously living in Australia, it's a very multicultural country. So in my school, there was over 70 different nationalities
Wow.
just in one school. But something I struggled with mainly was my identity. So as an Australian, as a Muslim, and as a Lebanese, as having Lebanese origins as well. My parents are from Lebanon. Just trying to balance all these different faiths and cultures and trying to fit in. I would say one of my biggest. I was obviously very young when after September 11. So obviously my name's Oussama, and then with all the stigma behind what happened with everything that happened in September 11, Osama bin Laden, blah 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 blah. So you'd always get the constant name calling of Osama bin Laden. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had enough, and I just told my parents if they can at the school attendance just to put me as Sam. So I went through a lot of years where I wasn't ashamed, but just was sick of the name calling and stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then it wasn't until maybe 10, 15 years. Yeah, well, I'm starting to sound really old. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, where I was really accepted, who I was. And then I just told my parents, "No, leave the attendance and the as Oussama." So I was really proud, and I really owned my name, and
Yeah.
I felt that helped me grow as a person, and be proud of who I am, and
Yeah.
what my faith and what my culture is all about. So yeah.
Yeah. So would you say like the main takeaway from this experience that was not very nice experience was like at the end of the day, what you needed is to feel proud of yourself and
Hi there, we hope you're enjoying this episode so far. We just wanted to let you know that we're on social media at WeAreGCM, and don't hesitate to follow us. And if you'd like to support us further, we also have a Patreon page. Type in Global Changemakers and decide which tier is best for you. And now, on with the rest of the episode.
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
be confident about who you are, because like
Yeah.
that's definitely enough. Everybody just is for being a human being, that's something that you are
Yeah.
enough. And like
Yeah. No, 100%. You're right on the money there, William. But obviously, we were young, and
yeah,
no one likes getting bullied and
yeah,
the
definitely,
name calling. So it
yeah,
really got to me. But now I really own it. Everything from work to my personal life. Everyone calls me Oussama or Us. So yeah, I'm really
right,
proud of my name and my culture.
yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Osama.
Nah,
um
thank you.
so now can you please tell us a bit more about what was Camp for Change about? I mentioned this back into introduction, and it was like a very cool summit, right, for teenagers.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
it was back in 2019. Yeah, early January, in January. So in the middle of Australian summer. So what we did is
Cool.
basically get 60 to 70 teenagers, and we
Mm,
took them away to like a weekend retreat kind of thing, where we would get motivational speakers, community speakers. We'd have a lot of free time where they'll engage in recreational activities, whether it be swimming or playing Australian football or just team building experiences and games. So yeah, that was a very very fun weekend, which was filled with a lot of recreational, academic, faith-based lessons for the participants.
awesome. And how was it about like gathering all these speakers? Was it like kind of
Uh,
difficult to find like, because maybe you had a list of people that you wanted to have in your camp, right? So,
yeah,
but maybe some of them were not available that weekend. So what did you do?
yeah.
Or I don't know what you want to share with us.
That's a good question. So it's actually funny how it got about. Originally, I had a friend who serves a different community, who wanted to run a camp, and also had another friend who serves a different community and wants to run a camp as well. And surprisingly, we wanted to run them all at the same time. So we just gathered. We're like, why don't we just pull all our resources together and have one big camp where you get your people and he gets his people, and we have one giant camp. So that way we can help each other and use our resources. So we had access to a lot of speakers in that sense,
Hmm.
simply because we reached out to other communities,
So that was not
and
a
I felt that
problem.
helped. Nah, it was a problem maybe like in terms of logistics, in
Yeah.
terms of organizing people from different areas to get to the campsite and stuff like that. But in a sense, it worked well for us because we're able to pull our ideas and, as I said, our resources, and make it a good camp for across three communities. So yeah, and I'm very fortunate with how that played out.
Hmm. Cool. So like Would you say that your experience as a facilitator, because you already had that experience, right? When you
Yeah.
carried out the camp?
Yes. Very lucky to be part of a number of programs.
So would you
But,
say that
yeah,
that was like of help to have that experience to organize this camp?
yeah, definitely. There was a thing at GCM where we'd focus on design thinking
Mm.
and really breaking down a problem or an issue that you might have, and just trying to figure out a way to get through or to solve that issue. So the purpose of the camp was to empower. Obviously, it's a controlled environment. So it's like GCM. You're there for a week, controlled environment. There's no external factors that really influence your behaviors, and so it's like a bubble. But then it's only when you leave the summit, when you leave the camp, that you like, well, I really need to use what I learned at the campsite to in my real life. So the purpose of the camp was to really provide the skills, provide a toolkit where the kids can go back to their own communities and basically use what they learned at the camp and adopt in their community.
That's really nice. That sounds like a very cool experience. I have never heard like a camp like that here in Guatemala. Like that.
Maybe we can do an Australian Guatemalan camp.
Yeah, partnership between Australia and Guatemala.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Once this corona boils over.
Yeah. Okay, so if someone out there among our listeners wants to carry out a program like that, Camp for Change, in their country, what would be like some advices regarding this topic? Because as I was like telling you, you maybe sometimes have a lot of last minute changes when you're organizing this. So what would be some advices you would give to someone?
Originally I wanted to organize everything myself. I'm a bit of a control freak where I wanted to organize the transport, logistics, the speakers, the accommodation, the food, the activities, but it just gets too much. So you need a good support network. So my advice is to get a good couple of people around you that really have the same goal and the same objective of the camp, and to really branch out and reach out for help, because it can burn you out trying to organize everything. So I think surround yourself with good supporting people, and I think that goes a long way in running the camp effectively. So what I essentially did was, you have 3-4 leaders, and they were all responsible for 10-15 people, and then that way you address 4 people instead of 60 people. So you address your 4 leaders, and they go out to their groups and they'll tell them that, and that helped a lot. As I said, you don't have to address the entire population there, and it really relieves that burden that you have on you, because it's a busy weekend. Like, when you're there on site, you've got a tight schedule which you have to stick to, and these things pop up, or as you said, a speaker might be late, so you might have to have a quick icebreaker, or you might have to extend an activity, or if you feel like the kids are getting reckless, you'll have to do another icebreaker or just an energizer, similar to what we did at JCM with all them dancers and all the songs. It's exactly the same. I tried to adopt what I could learn, what I did learn at JCM into the camp. So
that's really cool that you like had this transmitted this experience to these teenagers in Australia.
Yeah,
like kind of the same dynamic back in Switzerland. It was really nice.
The same dynamic. Yeah, it is very, very lucky.
So what was like
it was only
mainly?
because it was a couple.
What did you say?
No, sorry, go on. No, go on, go on.
Okay, so the topics discussed in this camp were also design thinking, or you had other topics?
They're a bit because there was a younger demographic. We had to lighten up the topics. So we'd address issues like community community like working with your community, and just how to be a better person, and how to grow, and how to think for yourself, and how to so
Yeah, awesome. Right, thank you for sharing those advices with us.
no worries, William.
Yeah, so I think we already talked about the challenging tasks you would have in organizing a camp like this, right? So I'm gonna move to the last question of this interview.
Yep.
Like, this question is like an open question. You can also relate it to your personal life or to your volunteering life. So what would be a piece of advice for someone who doesn't know where to start but wants to make a difference in their community or in their school or in their university?
It's a good question. For me, grassroots efforts. So grassroots is like literally your local community, whether it's through your mosque, your church, your youth group, your football club. So for me, like strong communities are built on strong foundations. So my bit of advice is to see what you're passionate about, whether you're passionate about the environment or the arts, or it could be anything, like serving our aged care. I live across the road to an aged care centre, so I really I have to go there one day and just see and just help. Like, it's just literally start in your own backyard first. Like, you're not going to change, as much as we'd like to, we're not going to change the world in one day. So we just really start in your own backyard, find what you're passionate about, and if there's a cause that you can help, sign up. Go sign up on a volunteers list, or go help out the elderly, or go run a soup kitchen, or go feed the homeless, or like there's so many opportunities that you can be part of, that you don't need to invest so much effort and resources. It could be anything. As I said, you can join your, like, at the very passionate about football, Australian rules football. So I'm part of a football club here where we run events, and we play football every week, and it's good fun. So just find what you're passionate about and see if there's anything that lines up with that type of leadership, and and just go from there. Start, just go for it, really.
Yeah, so like in few words, you would say that it is very important to find your passion first, and after that you can like try to work on that and see where that takes you.
100%.
Right. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Remember that you can help us have a greater impact by sharing this and encouraging everybody on your social media to take a listen. If you want to reach out, remember that the contact of the co-host is down below in the show notes, or feel free to do it on social media at WeAreGCM. We will be very happy to talk to you and answer any of your questions. Also, remember to follow us and to subscribe to this podcast. See you in the next episode. Take care.